Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone, and we have 4 brand new decks for you today. Now, all of the decks in today's video feature either Symbiote Spider-Man or Silver Sable, the brand new cards. A lot of what's in the meta that doesn't feature those cards are kind of discovered and solved decks. However, despite that, 3 of the decks have possible replacements for these cards, so don't feel like if you don't have these cards, there's not a possibility of playing them, including the 4th deck we're going to talk about today, which is an extreme budget deck, where the only actual high series card you're going to need to play it is Symbiote Spider-Man. It is a totally playable deck outside of that situation. All good? We also have 2 decks for you in today's video that are exclusive that you're not going to find anywhere else on YouTube. These are decks from top players that are only here, including this one from the great Safety Blade. You might know Safety Blade from writing on Marvel Snap Zone or creating the Slayer Blade deck, the deck that ran Ravonna Renslayer, Cannonball, and Professor X. That was a Safety Blade original, so we pay attention when Safety creates decks, and Safety has stopped posting his decks on Twitter, so if you want his great brews, you've got to come here or go find his live stream. And you should totally find his live stream, except he lives in Australia, and I can never manage to find that, at least during the school year. Alright, so this list is a nice, simple list that is fundamentally saying I'm going to do the most powerful thing in each cost slot. I think that's the real power of Silver Sable. She's obviously got an amazing home in a few specific decks that take extra advantage of her ability, but I think she's just the best one-drop. She's sort of a combination between the power of a Rocket Raccoon and the disruption of an Iceman or a Spider-Ham, and that's a really powerful card. So that general powerful one-drop goes with the enabling power one-drop of Kitty Pryde. Maria Hill is here as an enabler later on for Wiccan. Meanwhile, Thena, Angela, Kate Bishop, those are the best 2s in the game. There's 2 other great 2s that are in competition, but they don't synergize in the same way Thena, Angela, and Kate Bishop do. The best 3, I think right now, is Speed. I don't think Speed is significantly the best 3. I don't think you should have bought Speed. But if you have Speed, he is marginally better by just being big than the other 3s, and especially in the cell, which looks to spend its stuff, it's really great. Copycat is one of the other best 3s in the game. Then we've got the 3 best 4s, Wiccan, Gwenpool, and Shang-Chi, and then the best 6. So, this is, again, the best card at basically every cost slot except for 5, which it just sort of skips. So if you're interested in just playing really good cards that synergize well and put out more power than the opponent, this is the type of mid-range shell to look at. There we go. Wasn't clicking for a second. If you'd like to check out Safety Blade streams, check out twitch.tv/safetyblade. I really think you should. The man is brilliant. I spent, over a year now calling him the genius Safety Blade because I genuinely think in terms of putting cards together, Safety is a genius. You need 4 high series cards to make this deck work. You need Kitty Pryde, you need Thena, you need Kate Bishop, and you need Wiccan. For this particular brew, those 4 cards are an absolute requirement. Alioth is the best 6 in slot, but you can try Magneto. Honestly, you could also try Dr. Doom. I think you're going to lose a certain amount of games from decks that go over the top of you, but you're going to win a certain amount more games by the surprise factor because everyone just assumes you have Alioth at this point. Gwenpool is probably the best 4 here by a good margin, but you can try Iron Lad. I'm aware that's another high series card. The problem is there's not really another good 4-drop. 4-drop is a cost slot that needs some good generalist cards in it desperately. As those start coming out, we can go further and further. Honestly, you could probably do worse than just throwing a Symbiote Spider-Man in here. Copycat and Speed are, again, just the best 3s right now, so if you're not playing them, you're looking for slightly worse 3s. Nocturne, Gladiator, Red Guardian, and my personal favorite 3-drop that is not the Series 5 card is Polaris. I think Polaris is severely underrated, given how much clog is in the meta, so Polaris messes up a lot of opponents' plans. And finally, Silver Sable, who is again great here, just the best one in slot, can be Nico or Iceman. You want a 1 that you can consistently play on 1 for this list. Nico you play and you just sort of eat the one or 2 bad things it can do. And Iceman is just a standard good card. If you have Spider-Ham, Spider-Ham makes a lot of sense too in the current meta that doesn't run a lot of Mobius. So again, Safety is off Twitter. If you want Safety Blade decks, go check them out on stream or get your butt over to these videos every single day. Turn 1, Maria Hill if you need a 2. This is a very conditional deck. So Maria Hill is if you don't have a 2-drop, you just play her and then you don't have to worry about if you're going to draw a 2-drop. Sable if you know that you're going to be drawing extra cards with like a Kate Bishop. you have a 2 and you have a 3, so then Maria and Kitty aren't doing anything. Sable's just some nice power, some nice disruption. And if you don't have a 2 and Silver Sable's in hand, then you want Kitty Pride. There's also a reasonable argument for just starting to trigger Kitty if you have Thena and or Angela. Turn 2, you would like to play Kate if no 3, because Kate gives you a Kate Bishop, because she gives you 1-drops, which you could play with the 2 on the next turn. A decent play is almost always Kate on 2, and then on 3 you go Thena and one of Kate's arrows. Thena is really, really good, and if you've clearly got, once you play Thena a bit, you're going to realize when you have hands that get Thena to 10 power by the end of the game. If you have those 10 power Thena hands, or 11 power, whatever the hell it is at the end of the game. Is it 12? It's 12, isn't it? Whatever. When you have those Thena hands that just sort of go off, you'll start to recognize when that happens, and you'll adjust your play pattern accordingly. Angela is your, like, just standard, oh, I have a good curve, and I just want to gain some extra power. You just drop Angela, and she takes care of that. Speed is very similar in that situation. If not, you're generally going 2+1. It's really hard to tell you, much like playing Nico in a lot of decks, when to play Copycat, because Copycat can be anything. Sometimes you're going to play her on turn 3 and be like, ooh, thank you. And sometimes you're going to want to hold her to turn 6 because she's suddenly an insane, like a 3/5 Doom that you can use as a surprise play. Turn 4, you'd really like to Wiccan. If humanly possible, you Wiccan. You Wiccan almost everything. Wiccan's not a game win when opponents know what they're doing, particularly when the opponent is clogging you, but Wiccan is very good. If the opponent is clogging you, gwenpool might be better. Don't hesitate to play gwenpool over Wiccan in those circumstances, but otherwise, Wiccan over gwenpool. Turn 5 is the same as 4, and gwenpool and another card is usually a very good play here. And then turn 6, you're choosing between Shang-Chi and Goliath, and you know how you'd make that choice? Usually the answer is priority. That's how you do this. Right after this, though, we're going to take a look at yet our second exclusive deck. This is the King of the Symbiotes from the Great Avazord. But first, one last look at Cobra Kai, this very cool good stuff deck that has all the best cards that synergize with one another. And then I'm going to ask you to hit that sub button. We're aiming really hard at hitting 15,000 subs. We got a ton of subs yesterday, and I really appreciate it. Right below me is the little red sub button. You don't have to leave anything, just click it. We want to hit 15,000 by the end of the year, and your help and support would go a long way. Sub, like, comment. It helps tell the algorithm to show us to more people, which helps us achieve our goals. And in return, we do 7 days a week of Marvel Snap videos, at least 3 decks, and let me be honest, it's almost always 4 full deck guides, 6 days a week, and then the 7th day we have a giant podcast with some amazing Marvel Snap creators. Last week, we had Spider Jess and the freaking biggest Marvel Snap creator in the game, Regis Kilbin, on. If you want to hear this kind of in-depth conversation from top players, this is the place from you. Hit that sub button. And hey, if you need some extra incentive, at this point, it's honestly not why I do it. I don't get that many more subs during giveaway season than not. I like giving back to the community, so we give away 10 season passes at the beginning of the season, and then we give away an extra 5 season passes, an extra season pass a week throughout the rest of the season as well. So we gave away our first 5, we're now on to our second 5. To enter, you have to sub, you have to like, and then in each video, I ask a question at some point in the video. Comments, you answer that question. When you answer that question, you are entered to win that season pass. I'm going to announce those season pass winners, I believe, in Sunday's video, but it's possible it's Mondays, depending on, honestly, my plans with my wife this weekend. So if you're interested in that, check it out. Also, if you're interested in Marvel Snap tournaments, please check out the Snap Champions League. It's a tournament made for busy adults where you play 1 game a week in pods of 30. The winner of those pods gets a season pass and put into a $500 top 8 prize pool. We have our winner. I'm going to feature that deck in tomorrow's video for Season 3 of the Snap Judgments League. So get excited. We are all about this. It is a $1 Patreon entry to join all of our tournaments, but you get not only the Snap Judgments League, but you get all of our King of the Hill tournaments in every tournament we do, and an up-to-date deck archive that I really have to post the up-to-date version of, because again, I'm a teacher and work has started, and this week has been wild, like all caps wild. So we'll get there, but there is a deck archive that is super up-to-date and amazing, so you should check it out. One of our wonderful viewers has been doing that for us. All right, this is the deck I've been hyping. This is the deck I want to talk about. This is Ava's King of the Symbiotes. If your meta is not pure junk, this deck is freaking phenomenal. Cool? So I have I only have one set of stats. Ava sent the other, and I lost it because I'm an idiot. I was trying to organize things and I pressed things wrong. But this list is completely cracked. This is a very, very strong list. Fundamentally, outside of the very top of Infinite, because at the very top of Infinite, people know that people are trying to play Symbiote Spider-Man, and there is apparently a crazy amount of junk. So if you're in the top 100, this might not be the deck for you. However, Avazord is chilling at around rank 30 and still playing this to an insane win rate. He fell in love with Symbiote Spider-Man and did a 14-hour stream going completely crazy, him with multiple brews. We featured one of them yesterday. This is our second one today. Alright, you can find Ava at twitch.tv/Avazord. There are 4 high series cards you need. They are Nico, Nimrod, the Symbiote Spider-Man, and Null. So hopefully you have those cards. At least 2 of them are Series 4. Nico is unbelievable in this deck, though. Grandmaster and Ghost Spider are cards meant to reposition here, get extra triggers. You'll be fine without them if you don't have them. Killmonger, Wong, or Deathlock. I think I actually want Deathlock if I don't have Grandmaster here, but Ghost Spider, Killmonger, or Wong would be where I would go for that. Be a little careful with Killmonger, though, because Nico is insane here. Let's go card by card for uses. So what Ghost Spider can do is Ghost Spider can reposition. If you get your Shuri Nimrod and then if you get your Nimrod in a lane and they're able to like junk it up, you can pull that out with Ghost Spider. Same thing for Black Panther. Both of those plays have extreme amounts of power. There's also plays, they're not like my favorite plays with the deck, but where they mess you up and you end up, well, we'll get there. And you have to end up like pulling one of those cards out and eating them with like a Venom. And then you've got just a giant Venom and a giant Null. And that's a perfectly effective play also. There's a lot of ways to do stuff like that with this deck. And Ghost Spider just sort of gives you ways to beat top players who know what you're doing. Nico's amazing for 2 spells here. The draw 2 is amazing. You're generally trying to hit Magic or Grandmaster with the draw 2, but honest to God, the draw 2 is so good, you'll just sort of deal with hitting Carnage if you need to. And like, once in a while, if you're going to do the Shuri Nimrod and you just need the draw, you can just blow up Shuri. The Nimrod still gets the benefit just fine. You don't have to stress that. But the real other use for Nico is the double spell is sort of insane with Symbiote Spider. You get a free, well, not a free, but you get a 20 power Nico from the double spell with Symbiote Spider-Man. And Nico costs 1, so she's almost always the card that's hit. Even if there's a stupid rock in that lane, you're still fairly likely, like if there's a rock or a goblin or whatever in that lane, you're still going to, with the rock, you're taking a 50-50 with the goblin, you're going to hit Nico and get 20 power in that lane. Your opponent's probably counting on winning that lane cheaply because, well, they clogged you up, they messed you up, and you get to just sort of go over the top of them with that 20, that you can still do things like Venom and then Null, that you can still do things like take that Zola play on. So it's really, really cool and, like, genuinely, like, worth doing in this deck. Nico is so freaking good. Carnage and Venom are your destroy enablers. One of my favorite topics of conversation in Marvel Snap, and you can answer this, it's not the question of the day, but I think it's a cool topic of conversation, is what's better, Carnage or Venom? Venom's more game-winning, right? But Carnage's 2 cost is also really important, so it's completely debatable which of those 2 is a better card. I personally lean Venom, but I know a lot of top players that lean Carnage. I think it's a really interesting conversation. In Nimrod, I think it's fairly clearly Venom, but either one more or less works here. Remember that there is an alternate play pattern to a lot of what we're talking about here, where you make something big, but you really can't get your big combos off, and you just Venom it and then play Null, and you go shrug, got it, thanks. Or you can go Venom big thing, or Venom as big as you can, Zola, and then you can drop Null, and do that as well. Magic is the key card of the deck. Magic is your snap condition. If you have Magic, even on turn 1, you are relatively free to snap. You need the extra turn to make sure that everything goes off. Magic is what makes this deck consistent. There is almost no Nocturne, so knocking 1 power off Nocturne didn't kill the card, but it sure killed the card in the meta, and there's very little location changing, although Dex got me for 8 earlier today. He was doing Magic Rhino bullshit, and I did not see Magic into Rhino coming. So that got me for 8. Props to Dexter for that. There are very, very few ways to interact with Magic currently in the meta, so Magic is a really, really strong proposition. Grandmaster is great. Grandmaster helps you get like a Black Panther out of a clog location. If you can go Symbiote Panther, then you can drop Grandmaster on it. That can push that into a location that'll let you Zola it. as necessary, which is pretty freaking good. You can but the main use, you can get a second Shuri, which is also really nice once in a while, or you take the 50-50 on the second Shuri. Like, if you go Shuri, Panther, you have 7 turns, right? Turn 6, you end up hitting the Grandmaster, and you either get a Shuri that you can then play whatever other big card, Nimrod or whatever on, or you get the Panther, which you can then Zola, and so like you have a lot of options that way, which ends up being really cool. But the nice simple use is you've got Carnage and Venom, and sometimes you Carnage and Venom, and then you have like a Nimrod and a Venom, or a Nimrod and a Carnage in a lane, and then you just Grandmaster it and you get an extra trigger, which is, seems pretty solid, at least to me. Shuri makes things big. In this case, Shuri and Symbiote Spider-Man do fairly similar things. Shuri's main goal is Nimrod. Symbiote Spider-Man is fine with Nimrod or Black Panther. Shuri's fine on Black Panther, but that gives you a 50-50 on Zola. I don't know. Look, if you know what your opponent's playing and you know that they can't interact, you take that 50-50. If you're not sure if they have Shang-Chi, you can't afford to take that 50-50, you run. Clear? Symbiote Spider-Man's amazing. Symbiote Spider-Man has like 5 targets in the deck. Symbiote Spider-Man can hit Nico. We talked about that earlier, right? You're kind of fine with Symbiote Spider-Man hitting Venom or Carnage in a reasonable number of situations as just a way to get those extra triggers, particularly on Nimrod. Symbiote Spider-Man hitting Black Panther and then Zoling, that's like 56 power lanes. That seems really good. Symbiote Spider-Man hitting Shuri to make something stupidly huge, and then you can eat that is insane. Symbiote Spider-Man Nimrod is obviously the same thing as Shuriing it, except now you can Zola it immediately, and then like you are perfectly fine to Symbiote Spider-Man once in a while, like a Grandmaster or something else. Symbiote Spider-Man is great. This is the best he's felt for me so far. Nimrod gets big, goes wide. You know what Nimrod does. You know what Zola does. Zola very rarely ends up hitting null for me in this list, but Zola hitting Nico, of all things, then Black Panther, Nimrod, or Venom are really the power plays for the list. You're fine with any of those. Don't hesitate to, if it's rare that this happens, but you can Symbiote Arnim Zola, which is an interesting play. Not a good play, but an interesting play. And then Null is just like, okay, so sometimes you're not going to get all your combos off, but you can destroy some shit, and then you just got a big old Null. Null is really solid here. Plus, it makes this the king of the symbiotes list, so obviously, thematically, it has to be here. All right, the simple turn-by-turn. So, Ava went 16-2 pre-infinite and then had another stupid win rate. And then I played this and I went undefeated in like 7 or 8 games. So this list is right now just insane stats, like kind of crushing it. A lot of top players, and we're going to do top player thoughts later, are telling me Symbiote Spider-Man is too finicky. Ava is the top player who's like, no, I don't think so. And like, it's worth noting that while it might be too finicky, so is Mr. Negative. Mr. Negative is finished number 1 and number 2 on the Infinite Leaderboard. So is Phoenix Force, which is finished number 2 on the Infinite Leaderboard and been really good. Just because it's finicky doesn't mean it can't win an awful lot of cubes. It is powerful. Turn 1 is Nico if draw 2, or the double spell. Turn 2 is pass. Turn 3, you really want a magic, and you are snapping on magic. Basically, the second you have magic, you can snap. Turn 4 is Shuri or Symbiote Spider-Man. If you think they might be able to interact with you, Shuri is better because then you Shuri Nimrod. If you don't think they can interact, Symbiote Spider is better because that opens up the Zola play. Turn 5, Nimrod over Panther. Symbiote on a doubled Nico is again a real play at this point. So is, if you had to get a Venom out early, symbioting on Venom to then eat a Nimrod is really strong as well. And then turn 6, you eat it, or and if you do that, hit Venom with Symbiote to eat Nimrod, or Panther, but ideally Nimrod at that point, you can then Zola that. Now spidered Venom. Cool. Turn 5, Nimrod over Panther. Symbiote on double Nico is, again, a real play. Turn 6, eat it, Zola it, or drop null, and then turn 7 is the same basic thing as turn 6. Cool. This is really, really strong. I cannot tell you how much. We're going to take one last look at that. Then we're going to talk Silver Sable. So one last look at this. This is Ava's King of Symbiotes list. I love it. And not least because it's real pretty. It's got a whole lot of Dan Hip art. It's got a whole lot of symbiote art. And then I got a couple comic covers in there. I did buy that at Symbiote Spider-Man. It is freaking awesome. I've just been buying all the comic covers that come up. I'm a big fan of they call them Bronze Age, but whatever wherever they come from, I've liked almost all of them so far. If you'd like to see gameplay from these decks, today is Thursday, which means it is Stream Team Day for the great Parry Manilow. Go find Parry Manilow. Also, if you're interested in yesterday's decks, including a different awesome deck from Avazord, check GamingwithFlashX, who will have a video up relatively soon on his YouTube channel with yesterday's decks. Yo, Woody MJ is one of the best players in the world. I don't think there's much of an argument of that at this point. He is one of the most consistent top 5 finishers. He's yet to get his big number 1, one of the most consistent top 5 finishers, and the winner of the SnapCon Creator Tournament. He has created yet another bounce list that is, once again, absolutely dominating the Marvel Snap meta. I have not played this yet, full disclosure. I think this one is super freaking cool, and I'm very excited to do so. Again, teaching, less time to test absolutely everything, but look, I know bounce, and this works. In my experience, Beast has been significantly worse the more stuff you want to bounce right now. That will likely change when we get the change to Black Swan to be activate, assuming that that change comes with a change in cost. Because the more I think about it, the more I think it has to. I don't think they can make both Beast and Black Swan 3. And when we get Toxin or whatever it is, the bounce card that's coming next month, I think that's going to make Beast better in the regular standard bounce. But what Beast wants to be in right now is decks that don't want to bounce all that much. Decks that want to bounce a card or two. And that's what this is. This deck would really like to bounce Hood and Silver Sable once, but it's perfectly fine to only bounce Silver Sable, or just take power off Silver Sable and then use Viper to deal with the Hood, or use Nico to deal with the Hood. So that's what makes this so strong as a Beast deck, just for the record. You can find YoWoodyMJ at twitch.tv/YoWoodyMJ. He streams most nights. Again, absolutely phenomenal player. Really nice person. Gets a little grumpy with chat sometimes, but sometimes chat's a little bit silly. All right, Werewolf, Widow, Kate, and Werewolf are your needed cards here. I just think, like, Widow is the least needed of those cards, but that extra bit of mess you up and put stuff on your opponent's side of the board is really, really good with the Hazmat Ajax combo. So I think you do need it. Oops, excuse me, wrong way. Cassandra can be Gladiator Polaris. Cassandra Nova is, to me, the single worst card of the deck. She's arishem proofing, and she's strong. She gives you a little bit of extra affliction for Ajax. She's just not a requirement. Nico and Sable can be Rocket and Ham. We've played similar to this with previous to Sable coming out, and Nico is stellar, but not a requirement. Nico is about as close as to a requirement as possible in this kind of deck, specifically because there's only one bounce card. So this is an insane win rate. I'm seeing 70% win rates across the board. This ended up with a 60+% win rate on Marvel Snap Zone, and currently it is the number 3 ranked players deck. Cam Worst is there. Number 1 and number 2 are Barzy and Derek again, and Cam Worst has flown up to number 3 with this list. This list is legit. Like, you gotta play it. Turn 1, Hood. Turn 2, or Sable. Turn 2, Widow over Kate, pending hand size. Sometimes you'll drop Kate when you need some on reveals to play Werewolf and you have plenty of hand space, but usually Widow. Turn 3, Werewolf. Turn 4, you would really like to Viper over a Hood or Beast back some cheap stuff, one of the two. It is your clear up some space turn. Turn 5, you either do Ajax and a bunch of stuff and Hazmat, and then turn 6 is the same thing. Now Ajax and a 1 to move Werewolf, or a bunch of stuff and Hazmat. Although you open up by playing Ajax on 5, Hazmat and Shang-Chi as your last turn, which is extremely strong. You Shang to win one lane, you Hazmat in another, the Werewolf ends up in the Hazmat lane, Ajax shoots up in power, and you've got competition for potentially all 3 lanes. Cool. Stellar bounce list. Again, if you are at all good with Werewolf or trying to learn it, this is a fairly straightforward way to do so. I urge you to give it a try. You do not need Silver Sable for it, but she is absolutely excellent, best in slot. These are the 3 1-drops that will be in every bounce deck, I think, and then we will go from there as far as seeing what other ones bounce once. I also remain curious, not that it has anything to do with this particular deck, I remain curious if there is a Bast version of a bounce list that can be good again. We haven't seen no Bast bounce guy's name sort of chased Bast out of bounce, I feel like, but I think there might be a bounce deck that runs Bast again because Silver Sable starting at a 1/5 seems really strong. And I think there might just be enough other stuff to make that work again. Sage and so on. All right, top player impressions, and then we'll do our last deck. So the Symbiote Spider-Man top player impressions. First is Eeka, says it's harder to use than I originally thought. Still an amazing mainstay and extremely future-proof. That's a very positive stay. So this is a card that's going to need you to be good at Marvel Snap to play. BBAK agrees and says it's a good value card. You get value out of this. W, however, says this is a letdown. I don't like the lists that force it. Okay, so like lists that really need it and force it are not where W is at. Safety is the most negative of all of our top players. Poor, clunky, awkward, and doesn't bode well for activate. That's a little surprising because safety is often good with kind of clunky things, but perhaps the level of junk has pushed him off this. Avazord says, new meta, new decks, new combos. Ava loves this card. He's basically playing only this. That's why he can't seem to stop streaming right now. Last I checked, it was super late at night, and Ava was still streaming. Derek, the #1 player last season, says it's easy to counter, very face up, but decent. Again, I think a lot of this is the very top of the Infinite leaderboard is not going to be the place for this, but if you're not there and you're seeing a wider variety of opposing stuff, this is going to be great. Nathiel says, not good right now, we need to discover something. Sense to me. And Butt says, fun but mid, dies hard to Cosmo and Junk, and he also adds that he's playing the living crap out of it. Butt was ranked 3 last season, so like these are like real top players. I didn't go through all of their bios, but I promise you, these are all top 100 players, if not higher. Some of the best players and deck builders in Marvel Snap history. My question for viewers. They made Symbiote Spider-Man the season pass because putting Spider-Man on a thing you are selling is a good way to sell extra of those. However, Symbiote Spider-Man is an extremely complicated card. I literally had Eeka, the next deck is an Eeka deck, like figure out an interaction for me for whether it worked or not, because this card is so freaking complicated with all the things it does. Do you think it's a positive that Second Dinner has released Activate on this extremely complicated card, and that a season pass card would be this complicated? Do you like them sort of upping the difficulty level of the game, or do you wish it had stayed sort of in simpler cards, more like Gilgamesh? Where do you land on that? What do you think? Does it tell us anything? Where are you? Cool. That's the question of the day as far as entering the season pass giveaway. Good luck, my friends. All right, Silver Sable. Eeka says it's close to, if not the best one drop in the game, generally good. BBAK says useful in Pounce and C3. W says as predicted, can't go wrong for what it does. Safety says will end up in every deck if it stays like this. Ava says great in Bounce, solid otherwise. Bounce isn't that good right now. I think it's wild that like different experiences in the top 100 can be that varied. Ava, sitting at rank 30 right now, thinks Bounce isn't very good, but other players think Bounce is the best. Ava thinks Symbiote Spider-Man is a blast and is able to really, really compete with it, while a lot of other players are telling me some Symbiote Spider-Man is clunky and should not be played. We are all over the place. RS Barry says that Silver Sable is like Speed, not enough better than the other ones to be worth it, and that's the comment I want to come back to. Nethiel says, good, a better Rocket Raccoon for my junk decks. He's playing a lot of junk bounce. And Butt says, boring and good. So that like Speed, not enough better than other 1-drops to be worth it, I think is a really interesting take. I think Speed is probably the best generic 3-drop in a lot of different decks right now. But very few people bought Speed, because I don't think Speed is... Like when Nocturne came out, Nocturne was, as a 3/5, was enough better than the other 3s, that eventually you just had to have her. I don't think Speed quite gets there, even though it's still, I think, probably the best 3. Is Silver Sable more Nocturne than Speed? RS Barry is arguing that right now it's more Speed. I'm leaning that way, but I'm going to review the stats before tomorrow's video, before I give you a recommendation at that point. So far, so good. That is our top player impressions for these two awesome cards. Last deck of the day is Eeka's Ronin, the Symbiote. Yeah, I gave it that stupid name. I'm sorry. So there are... Snowguard is still a Series 4 card. Jeff is Series 5. Kate Bishop is Series 4. And then Mobius is Series 4. You don't need any of them. The only card you need for this list is Symbiote Spider-Man. That's right. We're ending today with a budget deck. This list, however, is a blast to play. I watched a little bit of VOD on it. I didn't play it, but I watched VOD, and it's so fun. All right, so you can find twitch.tv/Eeka_MTS, and when we do the turn-by-turn, I'll tell you the thing I had Eeka look up for me to see if it worked, because he had actually never done it, but it does work, and it makes the deck stronger. Symbiote Spidey is all you need. Snowguard can be Agent 13 or Maria Hill. Kate Bishop can be a Sentinel or a Cable or a Mirage. Spider-Ham can be Iceman. Pick your one. Could also probably be Silver Sable. Mobius can be Nocturne, Polaris, whatever you want as a 3-drop. And Jeff, I know this is wild, but please try Baron Mordo. No one plays Baron Mordo, and that card is really good. If you ever get hit with Baron Mordo and it hits something you would like, it is a very frustrating play. Baron Mordo cards cost outside of Mobius cannot be reduced, and it's really good. Okay, top 100 Eeka, kicking all sorts of ass with this list. Turn 1, Spider-Ham is generally better than Snowguard. Turn 2, you would like to play Kate over Master Mold over Maximus. Turn 3 is Mobius is better than one of your 2s. You're not playing on turn 3 Cosmo or Mystique. Although you can play Mystique, and this is a good point to get to what I was talking about. So if you play Dino or Ronin on 5, and you have Symbiote Spider-Man on Mystique on 4 alone in a lane, when you activate after playing Dino or Ronin, you get a second, Mystique will then copy Dino or Ronin, even though you played it early. That's what I had Eeka look up. That's really cool, right? So you get a 6-power Devil Dino or 6-power Ronin by playing on turn 3 Mystique, turn 4 Symbiote Spider-Man on Mystique with nothing else in the lane, turn 5 Dino or Ronin, then activate. Nice, right? So then you Dino or Ronin. The other thing you can do at that point is you can trigger Symbiote for either your draw or theirs. So you can go... you can play Maximus and drop Symbiote. You can play Master Mold, drop Symbiote if Ronin's your card. And all of a sudden they get 4 extra cards in hand. Or if you have Devil Dinosaur, you do the same thing for Kate Bishop or Snowguard. Cool. You don't always need the 4, though. So read the board. Sometimes you just want the 2. Because the cards you're playing cost 1 or 2 at that point, you are combining that with either Cosmo or Mystique, which is a reasonable thing to do. The reason that Eeka did not have to do the Mystique play on 3 for the double of the 6-power Mystique is because the winning play was very often you would do something like, and I'm just going to walk you through it so you can see the cards at the same time as I'm talking. You would do something like Mobius on 3, Symbiote on 4, Devil Dino, let's say Ronin on 5, right? And then your turn 6 is Maximus activate Symbiote. First Mystique, then Maximus activate Symbiote. So then the Mystique is going to reveal copying, and then you still get the +4 cards. It's not as big as the other play, but it does make that Ronin extra big, and the 6-power Maximus is just really good. I really wish Master Mold got an extra power, just for the record. I'm going to keep on that. But this is a really cool deck. People have had a lot of success with it. It's got a million little tricks in it, and if you enjoy Ronin decks, you should 1000% give this a try. Questions of the day, and then we're out of here, because again, it is super late, and I got work in the morning. So Mojo the Clown wants Annie's flavor text to be, Annie, are you okay? And A, I love that. Mojo the Clown, you win. But B, I'm curious about something because it's something I always struggle with. I really, really, really have a hard time with separating the art from the artist when it's appropriate and when it's not. I have a firm ethical stance on a lot of different things, and it's one I struggle with. I mostly am okay when the artist is dead, John Lennon, Michael Jackson, and I struggle a lot more when the artist is alive and still causing harm. There are clear lines. I won't support J.K. Rowling, but my son loves Harry Potter, and so I will accept him. And like it ends up really complicated. I don't want to give money to hateful things, so I will do everything in my power on earth to not. But separating the art from the artist is very difficult, very complicated. And then what do you do for collaborative pieces? Let's talk for X-Men 97. Let's say Beau DeMayo turned out to be an absolute monster. I don't know if he was or not. That show was worked on by hundreds and hundreds of people, but he was the creative mind that drove the first season. How should that affect the enjoyment of the show, the watching and support of the show, the recommendation of watching the show? I'm never really clear or strong on that. I think it's like such a gray area that I tend not to do my best not to judge others for that either. I don't know. I just really, really struggle with it. And this isn't a purity test for me or anything. I'm not trying to say I'm failing some purity test, but I think that it is a complicated issue, and I'm always interested in discussing it because it's one that I'm constantly trying to work out my feelings on. So this silly and great joke from Mojo the Clown is led me down a serious line of thought. If you're interested in discussing that with me, feel free to either DM or just, Drop it in the comments. Gioa Share, maybe? I don't know how to say that. Asks about card acquisition improvements, when and how. So, SnapFan data mined something called Snap Packs, which have a pity timer that guarantee you a new Series 5 card. It seems like it seems like this is going to be either new card acquisition or a part of new card acquisition. I don't think they can get rid of Spotlight Keys because I have 30 of them. And if suddenly my Spotlight Keys disappear or are useless, I will be extraordinarily upset, right? Like, I spent money, I built this up. Same thing for tokens, right? But I think that they might introduce Snap Packs as another way to increase or improve card acquisition. Now, temper your expectations. They're not going to make it so that free-to-play players get a bajillion more cards. They're just not. They might make it so that Season Pass players get a little bit more, but it's very likely to be relatively similar. What they're likely to try and fix is how bad it feels, like, Spotlight caches sort of require optimization. So what they're likely trying to fix is how bad it feels when you don't optimize, and you try and open with 2 keys, and you get nothing, and now you're angry and miserable. That's what I assume they're going to fix, not make the game significantly cheaper. They're making a ton of money, and very rarely do companies go, you know what we should do? Make less money. I hope that I'm wrong, but that's not my expectation. Richie asks how you can get better in the game for those struggling with Infinite, for those struggling with anything in the game. I have several pieces of advice. First, y'all probably know KM Best. Actually, I know most of you know KM Best because I asked what other content creators my viewers watched, and like a bajillion people said KM Best. So on KM Best Discord, once a week, Husky Puppies, who's a phenomenal player, does like a little coaching session and like a live Discord chat. Similar things happen in Lambie's Discord as well. Marvel Snap Zone also has a $10 a month premium subscription, which includes weekly coaching from Den. I have not watched Husky's coaching. I'm not saying he's a great coach or a terrible coach. I've heard good things. Den is a brilliant coach. I can vouch for him. People that go to Den for coaching improve exponentially. That is a pay option. The real big pay option is Den also does pay coaching individually for a little bit more money. He still does it relatively cheap. He's the cheapest top-level coach on an individual level I've ever heard of in a competitive game. And then there's My Way. We've got a new role on our Discord, and if you're interested in participating in this role, we're going to ask you to show like a little bit of rank stuff. But we've got a new role on our Discord, and a lot of players that are interested in doing this, where the role is going to be basically like Snap Coach, where we're going to have players that are able to hop into Discord voice calls with those struggling and help them coach, help teach them, help them get better at Marvel Snap. This is a new feature. It's a Models feature because Models is, again, the absolute GOAT. So Models was like, hey, why don't we like have coaching to help people? I'm going to tell you this, though, right now, friends who are hitting the high 80s. If you're topping out at 70, then there's a serious problem in your Snap fundamentals that we can work on. But if you are hitting the 80s and 90s and like high 80s and 90s and stalling out, the problem is very unlikely to be your play and very likely to be your mental situation. There is a wonderful player who is one of our Patreons who I talk to all the time, who I greatly like. And he gets to 99 and then falls down to the 80s, then climbs back to 99, and like he has a serious mental block that sometimes makes it really difficult for him to get Infinite. There's nothing wrong with his play. It is literally the act of just finishing up that climb and getting to Infinite messes with his head. That's possible too, and coaching can help you with that as well. But it's worth recognizing that your play is probably good enough for Infinite at that point, and you're just putting undue pressure on yourself. Make sense? Also, just in case anyone's curious about my climb, before we go further, I have played for, I don't know, between 2 and 4 hours this season so far. I'm ranked 93. I've got a really, really great deck from Derek. It's not what he's playing, but Derek sent it to me a few weeks ago. It's one of those Columbia decks that I rocked with, and then I had a 70% win rate, and it got me to top 1,000 last season. I was like, I should feature this. And then I was like, let's get Infinite with it this season, and I've got a 73% win rate with it this season. On my way to Infinite, I'm probably going to finish my Infinite climb with it tomorrow. except tomorrow's Thursday, which means podcast day, so maybe Friday, whatever. As soon as I have like actual time in my life, which will be before the weekend, I will hit Infinite with that deck. I will give you stats with it for this season and last season and show it to you. Yeah, I don't know. If you also a reminder for our patrons of different levels. I'm actually going to switch this up a little bit. $1. I'm running a raffle each month. $1 patrons get 1 entry. $5 patrons get 7 entries. $10 patrons get 14 entries. And I'm going to run a big old raffle. And the winner of that raffle gets a night of hanging out and playing Marvel Snap with me on Discord. And I will coach you as much as you want in that. I wish I could do coaching. I coached Johnny Be Good. Johnny is awesome. The other day, he had a really good time. He says he got a lot out of it. Yet being like, how do you know they're going to do the thing they do before they do it? Because I play a lot of Marvel Snap, my friends. I think a lot about this game. These videos don't make themselves. If I had time to do coaching, I would. I'm really, really sorry that I don't. Like, genuinely, this is like not a facetious thing at all. I apologize that I don't have as much time as I want to dedicate to this wonderful community. I promise to do my best and help you find others that can help as much as possible. Two Ties demands my thoughts on meditation. Like, chill, Two Ties. No, I don't actually have major thoughts on meditation. I think meditation is wonderful and brilliant and great, but not for me. I can meditate. I enjoy meditating, but it's not the thing I love doing or want to do. What I want to, like, I'm fairly relaxed and unstressed most of the time. So, like, what I want to do is not relax my mind. What I like to do is exercise my mind, give myself something critical to think about. That's part of what I do Marvel Snap for. That's part of why I like I wish I had more time for reading and video games, and I'd kind of rather do one of those things if I did have time than meditate. Again, meditating is wonderful and brilliant, but it is not what my mind needs. Patreon, and then we out. Let's do some fast Patreon. We got Abigail Gisa, Manager Burnout, Cables Irregardless, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, FaThorNewman, Good Dog Gamer, Deuce Volt, Inc. I am Frostman J, Never Eat Corbin, Prime Brian. Hey, Prime Brian, appreciate you, my friend. Hope you're having a wonderful vacation. Ryan Burke, Caretix Lee, Koirei, the King, Koirei coming all the way from Japan. Caretix Lee is the King Questions. I'm tired, friends. I woke up at 5 in the morning to take my son to my dad's house before school, and it's now 10:54 p.m., and I just need to close my eyes. Black Dahlia, I'm joining that alliance. I swear to you, it's just I'm tired. Pyro Frost, the Goat Seeker, Deadman Falcon, Quid Pro Joe, the King of New Marvel Snap Card Content, Dr. Friday, Ginger Prime, Philip Rakovich, also hopefully having a wonderful frickin' vacation. Haplo, Kenny Logs of the Ginger, Rob Silverman, the Bizza, Exorcist, Skippy G, Tommy Nyquist, who won Snapchat League Season 1, our OG winner, the King of Bros, Bro, the Great Kazoo, Jessica Campbell, Ryan Wood, Kevsey Hoda, Ludacris, Quantum Quinn, John Q, Clam, A Sage, Mod Supreme Models, Darth frickin' Tater, Joe P, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B, our still most recent friend. Someone's got to knock him out of that most recent friend spot by subscribing. J.D. McDonaldino, the Fuzzy Delon, Spectrum Mix, Hoot, Matt H, DJ Mikey Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Ocularis, Craig Sterry, Seamus, Jonesy, Two Ties, the Great Lord Devs, the Parry King Tuccrr, the Homie Min, and of course Gunny T, where the T stands for. See you tomorrow? I don't know. That's not what the T stands for. The T stands for right below me. We got yesterday's video that has a sick Symbiote Galactus deck. Go check that out. You won't be sad, and you'll make me happy. So really good combo, right? Peace.